and I am co-reading a book again with another teacher, and the book that we have chosen to read together this time is Jurassic Park. And I've read Jurassic Park before. It's one of my favorite books. It's a treat for him because he has never read the original books, and his only experience is the movies. So now he gets to see how the movies line up and how they diverge from the original book. It has been a treat for me to reread the book and see again some things that I've forgotten and new things that I missed the first time. I had talked to a friend of mine that teaches science, and he for a while was reading this like annually, and he had mentioned that the comment in the movie about the voice actor they had gotten, Richard Kiley, is the same one mentioned in the book. And so I stopped when I got to that point in the book and looked up Richard Kiley on Internet Movie Database and just get a glimpse of that. One thing that I noticed in the book, and I think this is maybe just an oversight in the writing and possibly the editing, because I don't think that this is really a science issue. They repeatedly talk about 15 species were developed for Isla Nebula and that are being tracked on the island, but there is a dinosaur that's seen later in the tour, a dinosaur that's not specified in the movie, the Camarasaurus. It's a herbivore that is like the Apatosaurus, but from what I was looking at, I don't believe it's actually in the family of the Apatosaurus or the Diplodocus. It's kind of in between, just based on a cursory look. I wasn't familiar with Camarasaurus before, but it's not listed in the records that the computer is tracking that are specified in the book. So I don't know if this is something that Michael Crichton missed when the graphics were put together, that they didn't mention this dinosaur in the graphics piece, or did he possibly leave it out intentionally, showing one more issue that has gone wrong in the park, and the fact that they don't even realize that they're not properly tracking this species. It was already stated earlier in the book, before we see this species on the tour, that Dr. Wu has lost track of how many species they actually have that have been viable. And then you see some of the breakdowns that happen. But now we're on the tour and we see a species that's talked about, it's mentioned, it's kind of focused on, and it's not being tracked by the computer. Hey folks, since filming my original footage, I talked to my friend over at Masca's library, and he asked me if I had checked Google to see if it could give me any insight into the issue with Camarasaurus appearing in the edition of Jurassic Park that I'm currently reading. This is my newest edition of Jurassic Park, and I didn't have my other edition of Jurassic Park because I let someone borrow it, so I couldn't compare. And I've been a little disappointed with that. I found when I did a search with a search engine that I didn't get any immediate results. And then I looked at one of the Jurassic Park wikis, and they said that there is a substitution for Apatosaurus for Camarasaurus in some editions of Jurassic Park. But they didn't have a citation for that. Well, I just remembered that my son, I thought my son had a copy of Jurassic Park, and he did, so he has this edition of Jurassic Park, and I just compared. If you look in the section Big Rex, they do have a substitution. It says, further south they saw the graceful necks of the Camarasaurus, and it goes on. Well, in his edition it says Apatosaurus. So there is more than one text editions of Jurassic Park, and there are a lot of editions of Jurassic Park that they've printed. So I would say, if I had to guess, it's copies that are based on early text, maybe, that says the Camarasaurus, and then they've realized there was a mistake, and they've substituted in Apatosaurus for continuity, and maybe some of the second editions of text, not necessarily second edition of books. Because if I had to guess, I'd say this is probably based on an early edition of Jurassic Park when they made the fancy edition. And then this one obviously is a movie edition because it's got the movie logo. And so they've probably corrected the text at this point. So we're not looking at publication dates per se in editions, but early text versus adjusted text at some point. So I'm glad I figured that out. I'm glad I noticed that. I'm wondering which version I had originally read. So did I not catch the mistake the first time, or did I read a corrected edition and so there wasn't a continuity error there?